We are watching a series of videos on data visualization using Tableau. In this session, we are going to learn how to create a box plot. Box plot is a statistical chart where you demonstrate the distribution of a particular measure across different points in a scale which we call quartiles. It shows how many points are within first quartile, second quartile, which is the median, and the third quartile. The difference between the third quartile and the first quartile is called interquartile range. In the box plot, you have something called an upper whisker and a lower whisker. Upper whisker is quartile 3 plus 1.5 times interquartile range, and lower whisker is quartile 1 minus 1.5 times the interquartile range. This is the reason why it is called box, sometimes called a box and whisker plot. The purpose of identifying the whisker is that the points that are lying outside the whiskers are considered to be outliers. In data science, there are different treatments that need to be done for the outliers. And that is the reason we need to identify the outliers in a distribution of measures. We are not going to get into the details of the statistical implications of a box and whisker plot in this chart. Those of you who are interested can refer to any standard book on statistics that explains the box and whisker plot very clearly. Here we are going to see how we can create a box and whisker plot using Tableau. First, we have to identify a measure whose box and whisker plot we want to plot. One interesting measure we can use is the profit percentage, which we have already calculated in the previous videos. We may want to see the dispersion of profit percentage for different orders in a subcategory. That means we want to see how the profit percentage for individual orders are distributed for a particular subcategory. The purpose of this is to figure out what are the orders which are outliers and what is the median profit percentage, the first quartile and the third quartile boundaries of the profit percentage, and how the spread of profit percentage is across the various orders in a particular subcategory. So let us put profit percentage in the rows. We have seen last time that it calculates the aggregate, can make this chart automatic, and we will have the subcategory in the column. Creates a chart like this, doesn't matter what it is, we just first convert this to a box plot. Now we see something like a box plot has come up. However, this is not exactly what we want. Here, the individual points that we see is the average profit percentage for each subcategory. Now, we don't want that. What we want is we want to plot a box plot for each subcategory where the individual points will be the orders. So let us first put the order ID in the detail. Get something like this. Again, that's not something that we want. We want across different subcategories. So each of the subcategories should be individual boxes, box and whiskers. And in each of these box and whiskers, we want to plot the details of the order IDs. So we will bring this subcategory back to our column, which Tableau had forcibly put in the detail. And now we see that we have got a box and whisker plot, which seems to serve the objective with which we had started. So each of these subcategories, you can see, has been represented by a box and whisker. Individual points are the order IDs, and we can see the spread of profit percentage for different orders in a particular subcategory. Now, some interesting observations come up. You can see appliances. Overall appliance for applying the profit percentage has been on the positive side, and the spread has been pretty narrow. That means most of the orders, the profit percentage are pretty consistent. It is between a consistent range. However, there are few orders where the profit percentage seems to be very low. In other words, they have been in fact sold as a at loss. So we may want to figure out what happened to these individual orders, because of which they were not sold at the profit percentage, which other orders in general have been sold for appliances. On the other hand, if you look at copiers, in case of copiers, the profit percentage has been within a pretty consistent range and there are no outliers. If you look at binders on the other hand, there are no outliers for binder, but the spread of profit percentage across different orders in the for the binder has been pretty wide. So you can see how we can find out the spread of profit percentage and the outliers for different orders for each subcategory. We can just clean up the sheet saying that profit percentage by subcategory, box plot, name of the sheet, yeah. So we have done a simple box plot with Tableau. The next plot we are going to do is called a bullet chart. Now, bullet chart typically is used to figure out whether a particular measure is meeting a target. So you have to define a target measure and you have to see whether the actual measure is meeting the target. In our case, the data set that we have, what we can do is we can assume that the company wants to have a target of profit, total profit, not profit percentage, of each subcategory to be 25% of the sale. So if the sale is 100, my profit should be 25. That's my target. If my profit is more than that, then I have overachieved the target. If my profit is less than 25% of sale, then I have underachieved it. And we want to put that in form of a bullet chart. Now, here again, we need another measure, which is the target profit. We don't have any such measure. So like last time, we have to create a calculated field, which will calculate the target profit. We can create it from any of these measures. For example, it's related to profit. I can create a calculated field from here, or I can create a calculated field from here, or I can create a calculated field from the analysis. So let's say with this time we create it from analysis and we say target profit, and the value here is 0.25 of sales. This is my target profit, and obviously this will be in the same currency as the same unit of measure as profit. So this change this num format to currency. This is target profit. Now we are trying to measure the profit, actual profit against the target profit. So let's put target profit in the column and the actual profit the rows. And by default, it is giving me a scatter plot because it is assuming that we want to make plot a relationship between target profit and profit, but we want a bullet chart for this and create a bullet chart. And this is for the overall sales. It's not divided into subcategories. So what we'll do, we'll put subcategory into the detail that line, and we'll put the sum of profit back in the rows. Back. So with a little bit of jugglery, we've got to our bullet chart. However, there's a little bit of a problem here. What you see over here is this x-axis shows target profit. In other words, the blue lines over here show the target profit, where the black horizontal vertical bars are showing the profit, the total profit for that particular subcategory. So this is not exactly what we want. We want the reverse. We want the vertical bar to show the target and the horizontal bars to show the actual profit, so that we can see whether the actual profit is meeting the target or exceeding the target. In our case, by default, the axis has got reversed. Now, in order to reverse this axis, what we need to do, right click over here, and we'll just say swap reference line fields. When I say swap reference line fields, it becomes what we actually wanted. Now, this x-axis becomes profit, and you can see there are certain cases where, for example, in case of copiers, you can see that the actual profit has exceeded the target profit, 25% sales, but in other cases like chairs, the actual profit is below the target profit, which is quite high. What are these gray lines? These gray lines essentially show that to what extent the profit has been, let's say, 60% of the sales, in which case it has been between 60 to 80% of the sales, and in which case it has been beyond 80% of the sales. Now, we may want to make this visually more clear by giving different colors to the 60%, 80%, and beyond 80% thresholds. And let us try to give different colors so that this becomes more clear. In order to do this, you can right click over here and you can go to edit reference line, and here you see 60-80% of the average target profit. So go over here. First of all, if you want, you can change this 60-80% to some other value. At this point of time, I don't want to do that. I remain in 68%. So I want to show in which cases the profit has been below 60% of the sale of the target, in which cases it has been between 60 to 80% of the target, and in which case it has been above 80% of the target. However, we want to change the color scheme, and let us get to the color scheme of let's say maybe spotlight, or maybe see if there's something better than that. No, I think spotlight is the best. So what it does is that if it is below 60% of the target profit, it is shown in red. If it is between 60 to 80%, it is shown in amber, and it is above 80%, it is shown in green. So you see the region over here. So like, for example, let's say this particular copier, this is in the green zone, because obviously it is above 80% of the target. It's lying somewhere here. And in fact, it's more than 100% of the target profit, and hence the green zone. Whereas something maybe in the orange zone, let's see if there is something in the orange zone. So this one, for example, appliances, this is between 60 to 80% of the target profit. And those which are less than 60% of the target profit, they are in the red zone. We will do the usual housekeeping stuff. Say that profit and get profit in bullet chart. And target profit. So we have been able to successfully create another very interesting chart called the bullet chart in Tableau. Please ensure that you have saved your work by saving to Tableau.